Cameroon Defense and Security Forces on the 28th of May 2026 issued a convocation to Fon Moma, the third of Ziranyam community, a village which is located in Bui division, Jakiri subdivision in the northwest region of Cameroon, over alleged links with separatist fighters or AMBA fighters or restoration fighters, depending on which side of the aisle you stand. This convocation was issued following a prolonged investigation or to carry out continued investigation into allegation of activities being carried out by the non-state armed groups in that area, popularly known as restoration fighters. Now, he attended the convocation today, which is supposed to be the 29th of May 2026. It is not clear whether he has been released because the village has not issued a formal letter or a formal press release to indicate whether their phone has been released. What is out there was the convocation, and it has been confirmed that he indeed attended the convocation issued by Defense and Security Forces to come and answer to some allegations as far as the activities of the non-state armed groups operating in that area is concerned. For context here, 3 weeks ago, over 13 people were killed. Most of them, according to the government of Cameroon, a communique released by Sirish Sech Atonfak, spokesman of Cameroon's military, he indicated that the 13 plus people that were killed, all of them are members of the restoration forces or the non-state armed groups or the separatist fighters, depending on which side you stand on this issue. Sirish Sech Atonfak was clear that the 13 people unalive are all or were all separatist fighters. However, some human rights groups like that of Ojong Congo Bala Felix released a statement indicating that testimonies from people in Ziranyam community indicate that yes, separatists or restoration fighters were killed, but that among them also civilians were unalive. And a claim that Sirish Sech Atonfak quickly dismissed following their communique which was signed. Now, Agbobalan Congo Felix human rights organization said, okay, there should be an independent investigation be set up such that the government can actually pave the way for an investigation to clarify that what happened in Ziranyam is not what actually happened some time ago in Gabon, because in Gabon on the 14th of February 2018, more than 21 people were killed, 13 were children, where before, in the beginning, the government issued a communique indicating that all of them were it was separatist fighters that carried out the attack. But after an investigation, it was later revealed that it was military that carried out the attack in Gabon, and all this was due to the fact that President Paul Biya set up an independent inquiry which did the investigation and came out with an independent result. Now, in this Ziranyam community, there was a festival that was to take place in Ziranyam community. This festival was to take place earlier last month. And this festival, someone tipped off Defense and Security Forces that non-state armed groups were in that area. They responded speedily and carried out this operation. Eyewitness described it as that the armed groups were there, yes, that the military, in responding to attacking the armed group, started shooting indiscriminately, and that resulted in injury of some civilians and also unaliving of some civilians alongside separatist fighters. But in the communique issued by military spokesman Sirish Sech Atonfak, he made it clear that those who were unalive in Ziranyam community were all terrorists, or what he described as terrorists, and that those whom people say are civilians were part of the network of the non-state armed groups. They are logisticians who were there as cook or as transporter of weapons or materials. However, other groups are still calling for independent investigation because some people are still not clear that what happened in Ziranyam community, that all those who were unalive are separatist fighters. Some people are still doubting the release of the military spokesman Sirish Sech Atonfak. Fast forward, now the phone of Ziranyam has been called for questioning to come and testify as far as his activities is concerned in the village. If he has link with the armed fighters, and if he has links, it is very clear that he will be arrested, he will be detained indefinitely, and he will face the wrath of the law of the government of Cameroon. But the challenge in the northwest and southwest region is that it is difficult to have a clear operation in that particular aspect of maintaining peace, security, and at the same time avoiding these guys or the non-state armed groups, because several citizens as well, they at one point in time have been kidnapped by some members of the non-state armed groups of working or alleging that they are in discussion with state authorities. If they are seen discussing with state authorities or having friendship with state authorities or with military officers or even conversing with military officers, in most circumstances they attack blackleg. And they are doing that not because they want to willingly do that. Some want to willingly do that. Some are doing that because they want to establish and make clear to the state that they are not aiding and abetting the separatist fighters. On the other hand, the separatist fighters also sometimes go to a certain level of getting those who are dating military forces kidnapped. On the other hand, too, civilians who probably are being forced to respect orders of the non-state armed group, because the civilians are not armed. The chiefs in the respective chiefdoms and fiefdoms don't have guards. They don't have military bases in their palaces to say that they will be protected. They are left to be protected on their own and their palace guards. Now, which means that it is difficult for these civilians to protect themselves, because if a non-state armed group fighter comes and gives you an order, you know fully well that he has the gun, and if you don't respect the order because he has the gun, he may end up kidnapping you or shooting you. So for you to save your life, probably you have to respect the order, and in respecting the order, now you are not described by state authorities as aiding and abetting and working in compliance with armed separatist fighters. And that is how probably the issue of this chief has been, because this chief is not being protected by the state of Cameroon in terms of having a military base in his palace. He will live in his community. His security is on him. He's not protected like the DOS and other state officials. So if an armed fighters come into his palace and give him an order, he is bound to respect the order. And in respecting the order, or receiving, sometimes you can sit and they call him, or receiving calls, and also because of fear for his life, maybe acts in protection of his life, he is seen as aiding and abetting the enemy. The situation in the northwest and southwest region of Cameroon is complex. At any point in time, you can be accused of being anybody or doing anything, either by A or by B. The belligerent can accuse you of either aiding and abetting A or aiding and abetting B. The context here is that the Pope of the Roman Catholic Church came to Cameroon to preach peace and to talk about the dialogue, and the authorities, he enjoined authorities of Cameroon to seek dialogue and discuss with those concerned. Since he left, peace has not returned. The state has not replied to his peace message. Instead, violence has continued in the northwest and southwest region. Officers are killed, non-state actors are killed, civilians are killed, children are killed, women are killed. The situation is very complex. And now with this arrest of the convocation of this fund, the question is, what is the way forward? As of the time of this video, they have not been a perfect clear press release to indicate whether or not the fund has been released, but some sources say he is still under detention as far as this matter is concerned.